This program is not for informational purposes. It's for transformation. Let me say this as clearly as I possibly can, at the beginning. This program is not for informational purposes. It's for transformation. And transformation requires honesty with yourself and God. Okay? So if you hear it's not by accident, something in you already knows that the way, yes, I am reading the screen, baby, because listen, let's get into the title of this program: Believe and Overcome. Now, granted, I created this particular curriculum back in 2020, 2021. However, each program feeds into the other, which means you will still be practicing, overcoming, and mastering each program as you ascend into the program. Because again, keep in mind, this is spiritual development, discipline, and obedience. This is not once I pass. It's not like regular school, baby. Okay? This spiritual school here. All right? This is God's kingdom school. Okay? So, thinking that once you pass, you're past, let's throw that away right now. Let's throw that away. Okay? This is going to be a constant evolution and sequence of practice. Okay? And practice makes perfect. So let me say that, and then we'll get back into this script that I got on the screen, baby. Because listen, believing something is an action word. Okay? It starts in the mind and then it flows through the body, okay? Starts in the mind, takes root in the heart, and it flows through the body. So what you believe, you become, right? You believe in God, you become God. You believe in the enemy, you become the enemy. That's for yourself and everybody else, okay? Now, we can't be God for nobody else, but we can believe in God and walk in his character, all right? So, let me say, if you are here, it's not by accident. Something in you already knows that the way you've been believing, thinking, responding, and surviving is not working for you anymore. It's not sustaining you, and it's not getting you towards where God is taking you, right? Okay? Let's start with that. And we will always want to be where God is taking us. And that's where body war begins, okay? And body war is exactly what it says. We wrestle not with flesh and blood, but spiritual wickedness in high places, right? But what we're not taught is that spiritual wickedness in high places influences your body, your thoughts, your heart, and everything that you do, right? And it don't always look like hoodoo, voodoo. You know what I'm saying? It does not look like, Hogwarts or witches and vampires. It doesn't look like that. It looks like negative thoughts. It looks like negative influences. It looks like anything that's not godly. What the book say? If your heart condemns you, be joyous because God is bigger than your heart, right? So this is how we believe that God is bigger and overcome the uncleanness in our hearts, okay? So, the first part of the program is called believing. Not believing in the motivational sense. Not believing as a catchphrase. But believing as, what do you actually believe at the root of your heart and mind? Like, what do you actually believe? Not what you should believe, okay? Because we all know what we should believe. But we have to be honest with ourselves about what we truly believe. Not what we were taught to believe, but what we actually believe. And it sets right, and it's just what we believe, okay? So that's where we start. Now, what do you believe? What do you believe about yourself? What do you believe about your upbringing? What do you believe about your trauma? What do you believe about your capacity? And even God himself. Like, what do you truly believe about God? Okay? So in case you haven't picked up, this is a faith-based course. This is a spiritually based course. However, if anybody calls themselves believing in God, you need all of this spiritual development and discipline in order for you to properly and effectively maneuver as a servant of God and a representative of Christ in every environment you step into, okay? Because it's not just one day a week, okay? Let me say that again. It's not just one day a week that you're supposed to walk in his character. It's every day. It's everywhere. Everywhere he went, he was still Jesus. He didn't take off no hats. He didn't change nothing up. Baby, listen. Now, he may have changed the way he gave the message, but his character never changed, okay? All right. Because whether you realize it or not, your beliefs are already governing your decisions, your relationships, your emotional reactions, and your sense of worth. So if you are, again, professing God, but do not believe that you're a child of God, if you believe that you're a child of your parent, right? And when people say, oh, you act like or you look like your mama or your daddy, you believe that, right? You got to believe that same thing about God. You have to study his character, believe it, embrace it, apply it to your life, and then release it. But first you got to believe it, right? So that's where we at. Because it does. It affects your emotional reactions. Like if you believe that you're not good enough, you're going to believe everybody else thinks the same thing. And you're going to be triggered when somebody says you're not enough because you already believe it yourself. So we're going to unpack all of that in these courses, okay? And overcome that form of thinking. All right? And many of those beliefs were formed before you had language, choice, or protection. That's why we start from the upbringing, okay? Because before you could speak, you were already eating, baby. You was already eating, okay? You was eating everything that was happening around you, and it was developing you prior to speaking. How do you think you learned how to talk? How do you think you learned how to walk? How do you think you learned how to crawl? How do you think you learned how to eat? You saw everybody else doing it. You heard them doing it. And you naturally grew into it. It's the same thing with negative influences. It's the same thing with your perspective of everything in your life. The way it's fed to you and explained to you determines how you believe it. Okay? In this program, we are not pretending. Okay? We are not rushing. Okay? And we are not spiritualizing wounds we were meant to confront. Okay? We are not doing that. When the Lord presents the fiery trials that are meant to try you, the key word in there is try you, not trap you. Okay? And I'm the first to admit that I was trapped in a lot of trials. Okay? I got trapped by a lot of trials that were meant to train you, not trap you. Try you, train you, not trap you. Okay? Now, this course is built around my first book. Okay? Well, my first two books. All right? And that's my curriculum. We talked about that yesterday. You are welcome to purchase it directly through me or through Amazon, or you can get it on Kindle. If you have Kindle Unlimited, it's free. However, whatever works best for you. I will be reading excerpts from it aloud throughout the course, so you are not required to have the book to participate, okay? You are not required to have the book, but I strongly encourage you to have it in case you want to go back and read it and see it for yourself, because some of the pieces may be read in its entirety and some of them may only be read in key points, okay? And then the reflection comes, all right? But it's not required to participate. However, I do strongly encourage you to purchase the book, and I strongly encourage you to have a journal, because you're going to need to take notes for your own progression, to document your own progression. And within the course, there will be places for you to type in your reflections, and the course will be available to you indefinitely. You can go back to it, look at your notes and your summaries and your reflections at any given time, okay? And it's not a one-time experience. It's a reference, it's a mirror, and It's gonna you'll be able to record your growth. What does the Lord say in Revelations? Write it in a book. Okay. So I will read excerpts from the book, like I said. Then I will stop and explain, like I said. And then when I explain, I am not speaking from theory. I'm speaking from lived experiences, former beliefs, and the process it took for me to overcome it. Okay. Now everybody's process does not look the same, but I'm here to give general key steps that can be used and generalized in any situation. Okay. This is intentional. Okay. God don't do nothing without purpose, and neither do I. Okay. Because freedom doesn't come from perfection. It comes from truth, humility, and a willingness. Are you willing and are you able to grow beyond where you are? And a lot of us need to admit that we don't want to be where we are mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. We don't want to be where we are right now. If you're not joyous and you're not happy and you're not actively, moving, like, again, if you feel alone when you alone, if you have an issue with sitting by yourself for long periods of time, there's some work that needs to be done there. Okay? Because we should not feel alone even when we're alone if we believe in God. God is everywhere. God is in us. God is around us. So we should never feel alone. And then we also have a community. Now, I'm big on your vibe is your tribe, okay? But we're going to get into that. I'm going too far. Going too far. Let's back it up. All right. This program moves through what I like to call the P positions, okay? Because we talk about opposition all the time. All right? And I love breaking things up into acronyms. So I broke opposition up into a 3-part acronym. OP position. So it's our previous position, which is what you believed because of how you were raised, treated, or forced to survive. Our present position, which is what those beliefs look like today. Our prophetic position, which is what God is revealing to you as truth. And our prepared position, which is what must be done so that we can move forward, right? How is God preparing you in this season so you can move forward? This is where exposure happens. This is where clarity comes from. And this is where many people want to quit because the truth disrupts comfort. Baby, peace disrupts chaos. Okay? Humility disrupts pride. Okay? Focus disrupts distractions. And when you in that prepared position, all of those things that you are sent out to disrupt be coming for you. And these programs are going to help you to be able to maneuver through that. But without believing differently, you cannot overcome. Okay? You got to believe before you can overcome. That's why this is a step process. All right, the second half of the program is called overcoming. Now, overcoming does not mean pretending that the past didn't happen. It don't mean that. It means no longer allowing old beliefs to govern your future. And it also means transforming your understanding of your past. Let me say it like this. Exchanging your understanding of your past with God because you're leaning on your own understanding of it at this current moment and allowing him to return it to you with his understanding of it. Okay? That's huge. That's huge, okay? Now, overcoming is where beliefs become practice, where truth becomes habit, and where identity becomes stable. So this is where you truly get to go in, understand, get God's understanding of your past and what the purpose of it was, okay? But we do not want to rush through that either. Because you'll rush through it like, oh, I just want to get done. I just want to know. Do not rush. It's one, listen, and I don't like talking about the money part, but it's one price, okay? It's a low price. And you can take however long you need to take to finish the program. Because keep in mind, this program is not for my gratification. It's for God's glory. The God, I always say God, because it's only one for me. Anyway. But it's for God's glory. Take your time. Because urgency does not mean speed. Urgency means obedience when it comes to God. He just wants to see you obeying. It don't matter how long it takes for you to complete the obedient task, as long as you're completing the task, okay? Now, and that's how I move. I'm not going to move. Let patience have its perfect work. So that includes being patient with yourself. And if God has brought you here, it's because this work matters now, not later, not when things calm down, not when you feel more ready. It means he's ready for you to go through this healing process. He's ready for you to feel him and receive love from him in a way that you have never experienced before. Okay? Now let me be very honest with you. If you stay in this program and you do the work, some of your beliefs are going to be challenged. Okay? Some narratives will be exposed, and baby, when I say narratives, I'm talking about them ad libs. All right? That's not scripture based. Them interpretations of God's word that ain't accurate. Because when he gives you your understanding of his understanding, keep in mind, that ain't even going to be my understanding. My books are written based on the understanding that God gave me. When you read it, he may give you a totally different understanding. And it may be different from your teacher. It may be different from your mama. It may be different from everybody around you. But whatever understanding he gave you is for you and the purpose he created you for. Okay, so those narratives being exposed that you've been holding on to, that's another big one. And he gonna want you to, run that, send that through. Let me get that so I can give it back to you the right way. Okay, and some things you've been calling that's just the way I am will no longer be allowed to stay. It's not punishment; it's preparation. Okay. So as you begin believing, I ask you to do one thing. Do not rush to correct yourself. Do not rush to sound spiritual. Because, baby, listen. Whatever personality he gave you is the personality that he saw fit for you, and it's fit for the population of people assigned to you. So if you've been out again, I mean, do we have to code switch in environments that are not spiritually grounded? I get it. However, your personality should not change. Okay? Your personality should not change. However God created you and the pure personality he put inside you is what he expects. Any other influences on that ain't him. Okay? Behavior is different. Mindset is different. Heart posture is different. But your personality, what you truly believe, how you truly feel, yeah. We don't mess with those because God made you like that for a reason. Okay? So don't rush to correct yourself, don't rush to sound spiritual, and don't rush to fix. Sit, listen, and let God show you what you have been believing and why. Okay? Because once belief shifts, everything else follows. All right? So, without further ado, that's my intro video for the Believe and Overcome courses. I wanted to share it live on Facebook with you guys so you can have an update of how we're going. And then also, this is a part of my Believe. Okay, Believe at the breaking through stage looks a lot like at the body war stage. It means you just cut the camera on and go. It means just do it. Do it afraid. Do it nervous. Do it with anxiety. I hate that word. Do it triggered. I hate that word too. But do it. Because we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. Not theirs, but ours. All right? So let's get into it. Y'all have a good day. And we about to jump into this program. Peace.